Alright, how's it going, guys? So let's talk about Jenny for a bit here. Today, I really want to get kind of in-depth on the recent buffs to her kit, what implications it might have on the meta, as well as some kind of pretty bold predictions that I personally have for where I think the devs are going to be taking her in the future. So I've got in the background some gameplay, and I think this gameplay is going to really highlight how effective these changes are. I think you can really see how powerful revenge play is, especially basically with the kills that I get in this gameplay. So that's why I think it's relevant. I'm doing this recording after the gameplay, so I'm not like watching the gameplay while it goes, so there's not going to be very much of a tie between what I say and what you see, but I do still think it's kind of relevant to have in the background. To preface this, to begin with, I should probably preface this by saying, obviously these are just my opinions, so I'm more than willing for somebody to prove me wrong, but I think a lot of people kind of like to shrug off my opinions, or have shrugged off my opinions in the past, because I'm lying. And either way, of course, obviously you're free to disagree with me, but before I get too much further in, I kind of would like to touch on that subject just for a second, because I think it's kind of relevant to mention. So I went from Fox 4 to Lion 5, and in basically that entire run, I only finished below second place. I'm like 90% sure I've only finished below second place 3 times, and I know for a fact the only time I finished below 5th place, and consequently the only time that I actually lost rank in that stint was when my game crashed and I died in the research center in the first minute of the game. And basically that loss, and I lost like I don't remember how much. I lost a lot of rank off that, but after that loss, I basically like told myself, okay, you know what? Once I get to Lion, I'm just gonna play normal games. But for now, I kind of wanted to put kind of in the present right here. I kind of wanted to put a lot more focus on enjoying the game. I really do enjoy the game. I really like the game, so I wanted to put a lot more focus on just enjoying the game. So obviously, like I said, if I get bad luck or bad connection or anything like that in a normal game, I can just shrug it off, and it's not going to mean anything to me because it's just a normal game. I wouldn't get salty out of that. I also really wanted to spend a lot of time learning all the characters, learning all the nuances of each different character and the kind of their kits and things like that, learning how to play them, learning how to beat them. And kind of tying into that, I really want to put a lot more focus into kind of the videos and the guides I've been making. I really enjoy doing YouTube stuff. I find it really fun making the videos and then kind of watching them myself after seeing the response from the community. So I've always enjoyed that. I like playing characters like William. I like playing characters like Adriana, and I feel like researching their kit, researching their character interactions, I feel like I can make comprehensive guides on them. But I would never bring William or Adriana, at least not my current self. I would not bring William or Adriana into ranked play just because my Adriana gameplay is not on par with like my Jenny or my Fiora gameplay, but I really enjoy playing Adriana. Adriana is one of my favorite characters to just play, to have fun with. So, yeah, for all those reasons, that's basically why I primarily stick to normal games. I got to Lion, I got my free skin, and now I'm just gonna kind of enjoy the game and learn as I go and learn the kits and things like that. And next season, I'm gonna really focus on ranking up. I'm probably gonna cut out half of like what I just said right there because this is gonna end up getting too long. I just realized I've been ranting about something that's like doesn't matter for like the longest time. But anyways, that was my quick rant on rank. Next season, like I said, I'm planning to put a lot more focus on rank to try to get as high as I can. But all that being said, I feel like I'm one of the more qualified people to talk about this subject, which I'm going to be talking about, because as you all know, I'm a Jenny main. I've played hundreds of games with her. I've played her in every playstyle you can kind of imagine, including transitioning playstyles mid-game, which is important to talk about as well. I played her with different masters. I played her stab. I played her gun. Those are basically the masters I played with her. Um, and I've seen her abilities basically firsthand in countless different scenarios. So I've seen them in scenarios where they work. I've seen them in scenarios where they aren't as effective. I've got a lot of kind of knowledge base for the character and a lot of experience with the characters. So yeah, for all those reasons, I really feel like I'm fairly qualified at the very least to kind of be talking about this subject. I want to start by dropping a little bit of a prediction right here, as I mentioned. So I'd rather say this and end up being wrong about it than not say it because I'm afraid of being wrong and then end up actually being right. Because like no one's gonna believe me after that if I'm like, yo, I predicted that, I just didn't say it. Like obviously no one's gonna believe you if you say that, you know. But anyways, as it stands, I think Jenny is balanced as a character. I think she's balanced. That might be, I mean, that might just be being biased. Honestly, like she's my favorite character, but like Bernice is also one of my favorite characters. I'm not biased with Bernice. Like I judge Bernice his effectiveness kind of where he should be. Like I don't oversell Bernice or undersell Bernice. But anyways, at the moment I do definitely think Jenny is balanced, but I think a lot of people are going to end up thinking that she's not balanced. I honestly do, and I honestly think that they're going to be nerfing Jenny in the very near future. Again, I don't think she's broken, but based on kind of the character nerfs and buffs in the past, I honestly think it's going to happen. There's a few ways they can change her, and I'd like to kind of talk about what the implications of some of these potential changes could be. So the first thing is they could just sort of reduce the damage of Revenge Play. And this kind of seems like one of the most likely changes. They could just drop it to 15% as opposed to 20. And that would be unfortunate. That would really definitely be unfortunate. I don't think it would really make her bad because it's still instantaneous. It's still free. It would definitely like make her a lot worse than she is. But any lower than 15% would just be way too much. And I hope they don't drop to like 10% or something. I hope they don't drop the damage. Period. In all honesty, I really hope they don't. But that seems like one of the more likely changes. The other, also fairly a likely change that could happen is they could nerf the cooldown, it would be bad. It would be unfortunate. 40 seconds is kind of that magic number where it's not something you're using like twice a fight, multiple times a fight. But it's really so low that basically you always have access to it. It's like essentially always on cooldown. Like you'll be able to use it every fight. Basically, is the thing. So making it something like 50 seconds would hurt the overall utility of it. Yeah, it really would. But at least you'd be able to keep the same damage output. It would just mean you have to be a little bit more careful about how you use it. I suppose having the overall damage the same would be probably preferable. It would be probably preferable to keep the damage and then just change the cooldown a little bit. I don't want any of these changes, obviously, but those are the two kind of most likely changes. Obviously, the changing the damage would kind of retain some of its versatility, but obviously drop up the damage, and then changing the cooldown and keeping the damage would impact the versatility a little bit, but obviously you would keep the just raw damage the same, which would be still pretty important. And like 50 seconds isn't really that long when you really think of it. And I think there's a few other potential changes they can make. They could do some random changes to Play Dead, which I highly doubt they would do, because like obviously if there was an issue, the issue would be with Revenge Play, not with Play Dead. So I highly doubt they'd change that. But those are the two, kind of the main two things I can see them changing. So moving on right now, basically getting into the actual changes with the removal of the cooldown. I think Revenge Play right now is a contender for one of the best offensive tools like in the entire game. Some of the phony deal would be more of a harassing tool. Something like dogfight or something would be more of a snowballing tool. Something like counterattack would be kind of a combat tool. But for something like just a raw offensive, kind of raw damage on an offensive tool, it certainly hands down kind of like the undisputed best punishing tool in the game. But Revenge Play is really so good, like kind of compared to other kind of offensive abilities like Blitz or Artifact Analysis. Revenge Play is really so good because it always offers extraordinary value. The extra damage is conditional, like a lot of these abilities, but it's first of all it's an instant ability right now. It's no channel time, which is amazing, and it's also completely drawback free. Like you can the conditions to meet are very, very easy to meet regardless of if you're winning or if you're losing. So looking at abilities like Artifact Analysis or Blitz, they obviously as well have kind of conditional extra damage. They also have they have conditions you have to meet for the extra damage, but the conditions are a lot harder to meet. So Artifact Analysis basically requires you to be outpacing your opponents. So it really has little use in kind of retaking the lead once you've lost the lead. And to achieve maximum effectiveness with Blitz, obviously you're reliant on Rush being activated, which not only limits you to when you can use it just in general, but it also kind of limits you to kind of opening a fight with it, because if you don't, Rush will probably like potentially have ran out by the time it's happening later in the fight. So you're more pressured to use it early in the game, early in the fight rather, than being able to save it for a late game massive damage instance. Revenge Play, however, can basically be used at any time in the fight. You can use it late in the fight for obviously insane damage. You can use it very early in the fight for just a quick additional damage. There's basically never any drawback to using it because it's additional damage from put on top of a normal attack. So if you use it when they're at a very high amount of health, you'll get very little extra damage, but it's still, like, there's no drawbacks. You're dealing more damage than you would from a normal attack anyways. And because of its cooldown being as short as it is, like, using it very close to the beginning of a fight when their health is, like, still fairly high, 80%, 90%, it's still very drawback free because it's a 20-second cooldown. Unlike something like Blitz, which is, like, a pretty big cooldown, so, like, you can basically use Revenge Play and it'll be ready to use essentially in the next fight. So there was kind of disagreement on this before, but with these changes, I don't think it's even up for discussion that Jenny is one of the best characters in the game right now, and what makes her kit so good is basically how versatile it is. Both her abilities have big impact of playing offensive as well as playing conservative, and obviously, as a result, this means they're obviously very effective in a more balanced playstyle as well, but they're always effective regardless of the playstyle you're talking about. And I'll start by explaining the obvious part, because everybody already knows that Jenny can be extremely effective using kind of a roach playstyle. I think I've made this stigma a little bit more evident than it should be, because I guess I'll get into that kind of a little bit later, because I think way too many people think she's limited to that. Like I said, I'll elaborate on this in a few seconds, but both her abilities are extremely effective in the roach playstyle and the conservative playstyle. Play Dead is the single most forgiving ability in the entire game, and while there's a ton of abilities that conservative playstyles love to abuse, like cooking, Li Huazi from Li Dalen, Peacemaker, even something like Speedy Recovery or Rapacious Collecting, Revenge Play is the only ability that offers you a second, and quite often a third, life. And for a strategy that relies on survivability, this ability it's invaluable. And Revenge Play is one of the best available offensive tools for conservative player as well, now that we're just talking about the abilities right here. So Revenge Play gives you the opportunity to overthrow players of much higher mastery and much higher level, as the bulk of the damage is going to be direct skill damage, which is just it's a raw number. It's not going to be influenced by basically anything that it's not going to be influenced by the differences between you and your opponent. So if you've got really shitty mastery because you're roaching, then this ability is still going to be effective, and the numbers are still going to be essentially the same. Obviously, the first part of Revenge Play is based off just damage, and then the second part, the latter part, is based off of the skill damage, but the skill damage is going to be the skill damage no matter what. And honestly, you can kind of see this at the beginning of my last gameplay analysis video. If you go watch my last Jenny gameplay analysis video, I think it's like titled "Got Him" or something like "Got Him" or something like that. But you'll notice the first kill of the first kill I get on that video. It's actually very early in the video, but the very first kill I get is on a heart, and the damage jumps from 10 damage to Revenge Play damage being 40 lethal damage. And now that it's instant speed, all you need to do is find the opportunity to punish the leading players, and you can go from roaching in second place to basically first place if you find the right opportunities. And these opportunities are much easier to find without this cooldown, which is huge. But anyways, I mentioned that she's effective in conservative as well as offensive playstyles, and it's not a matter of she's more effective at this playstyle, because a lot of people just say, oh, you should just always roach with her, which isn't true. But the fact that she has the flexibility to do both it's a huge boon, and this is because it means she's able to seamlessly transition between these playstyles, and very few characters actually have the ability to transition between playstyles. For example, I can start off a game playing extremely aggressively. And then, if I realize that my early game has been poor, if I haven't been building up enough mastery, if I realize that other characters have had a better early game, or if they've been fed, which happens every once in a while, I guess regardless of the rank, that happens sometimes. It shouldn't happen at higher ranks, but every once in a while you'll get someone who's just completely fed. Then I can easily transition to playing a much more defensive playstyle. And you can't do this with a character like Jackie. I mean, in theory you can, but like conservative Jackie is not going to be very effective. Her kit won't offer you much help in that department, whereas Jenny, when you transition her playstyle, her kit is still going to be effective. It's not like you're playing aggressive and her kit's effective, and then you switch playstyles and her kit becomes less effective. Her kit is effective no matter what you're doing with her. And this applies to the other side of the fence as well. Like I mentioned, if you watched my last gameplay video with Jenny, I think that's a perfect example as well. I started that game off playing very conservatively, because I kind of wanted to get a gameplay video where I kind of analyzed the Cockroach playstyle for you guys. I thought it would be kind of an interesting thing, an interesting look into the different playstyles, because most of my videos are just me playing more aggressively or even closer to a balanced playstyle, because that's much funner to play. But I do have to give respect to that as a playstyle. I do want to show it exists. But the longer the game went on, I began to put myself ahead of a lot of the other players, and I was able to transition very easily into playing much more aggressive role, and I was able to build up mastery of weapons very quickly, and I was really able to make up for lost time. And other characters who are more... Other characters, if you start off in kind of a roaching role, you're not going to be able to kind of make up that lost time as well as Jenny can. But that's just, and like I said, this is because her kit really excels when she plays aggressively as well as when she plays conservatively. So there's no hiccups when she's transitioning. It's very easy for her to transition. And that's all nice for talk, but let's talk about why she really excels offensively. And it's because both her abilities, as I said, these abilities that some people look at as kind of stall tools, they're extremely effective offensive tools that people don't realize are extremely effective tools. Play Dead isn't just you roach and then you live longer as a roach. It gives you the freedom to play hyper aggressively in the early game without fear of being punished. If Jackie plays aggressively in the early game and she gets punished, she's going to be dead. If Shuichi plays aggressively in their game and he gets punished, he's dead. Sylvia, she plays aggressively early game and gets punished, she's dead. But if you play Jenny and she plays really, really aggressively, and she gets punished, she retains all the benefits of her aggression, so high mastery, setting other players back via harassment, but she gets none of the negatives, being, eliminated from the game, or even really put too much in kind of catch-up mode. As long as she's not feeding, obviously, then Play Dead prompts what it does, and she stays alive into the mid-game, but she keeps all the benefits of her aggressive early game. And by the time Cool Dead is off cooldown the second time, she's basically moved into the late game, where aggression becomes, once again, very similar to the early game, aggression becomes an integral part of taking first place at this part of the game as well. And that's just Play Dead. Obviously, I feel like Revenge Play goes without saying, but Revenge Play is an insane aggressive tool. As I mentioned before, it's effective no matter what. The possibilities, honestly, for using this ability are ridiculous. You can use it to open up a fight to kind of overtake your opponent with extra damage, kind of early in the game. This is important because very early in the game, people are lacking significant healing items. So if you can get quicker damage off early to them, then you're most likely going to be chasing them out of the area, and you're going to basically be overtaking them in terms of damage and mastery and all that whatnot. Plus, you're putting them back because they have to reorient themselves, get a new starting location, whereas you've just kind of secured yours. I remember I was watching Louisel's video way back in the day, and I think this kind of shows it very, very easily. This was way back in the day when, obviously, when the 2-second cooldown existed, and she was attacking this opponent, and she attacked once, and then, right after that attack, she followed up with a revenge play, and from those 2 hits, from exactly 5 seconds, I remember going over the time, because this was, I was kind of trying to make a bit of a judgment for kind of the raw damage of Revenge Play previously, so I was going over a lot of videos, my videos, a whole bunch of really good players' gameplay as well, to kind of see the damage output as well. But anyways, it took 5 seconds, and she brought an opponent of equal skill level, equal level, from full HP to below half HP. Revenge Play is it's really, really good. And then obviously there's a ton of examples where they're low on health and Revenge Play is able to do that. And the thing right now is you can really quickly combo into Revenge Play right now, which is really, really easy. So a lot of times, if you kind of jump on someone, if they're searching for items and you hit them once with a normal attack, they might be in the middle of searching, they might be in the middle of crafting, or it might be in the middle of doing anything, and the time it takes them to try to move to another area, you might be able to follow up with a Revenge Play, where you couldn't in the past. If you tried to Revenge Play, there's a 2-second kind of buffer region where they're actually able to escape. So it's very, very easy to punish people right now. It's very, very easy to deal lethal damage with Revenge Play, which is super good for it. And kind of in the same vein, just during combat, a lot of times you can Revenge Play an opponent, and that's going to put them in range of kind of the next normal attack, just because you just dealt a massive amount of damage. And in the past, in the past, this was kind of a really good way to use it, because you'd Revenge Play, put them really, really low, and then you could follow up the second attack, and basically, while you're channeling, they're attacking you, so when you go for the second normal attack that's going to be lethal, they don't really have time to escape. And this is just going to be a much more effective version of that. You can a normal attack, you can follow up with a Revenge Play, no channel time, and they're going to be mid-combat, so that large instance of damage is going to be such a surprise, such a kind of out of nowhere. Obviously, you should be kind of giving respect to revenge play in the first place, but that's why I say it's kind of a punishing tool. So you deal this large instance of damage with the revenge play, and then they're trying to leave, but they're not going to be able to leave quick enough, and you follow up with a second normal attack, and it kills them. And this whole combo, the normal, you say normal attack, revenge play, normal attack, lethal damage, this is it's much more effective, it's much more efficient raids now, and it's much more secure to do. And I mean, it's really good right now. Like, it's stupid good. So that's, I guess, basically everything I wanted to say about it. Like I said, I honestly think Revenge Blade is going to be nerfed in the foreseeable future, although I don't think it should be. But that's just my opinions, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this as an idea, kind of the idea of kind of going over kind of analysis of kind of character-specific buffs and changes, kind of talking about their influence, kind of talking about my predictions on them and those characters in the future, what I think is going to happen with them. But either way, thanks for watching, and yeah, my next video that I think is coming out, I've got 2 videos that are like have been in the works and are probably the next ones to be released. First being an Adriana video, and a second being kind of another beginner's guide, kind of where I talk about the more, kind of where I talk about character specific. So I want to go over characters I find very, very effective for newer players to pick up. Characters that I think characters I think people should kind of learn to, not really give respect to, but kind of counterplay to kind of some of the characters that newer players might struggle against, things like that. But anyways, if you enjoy this, make sure to let me know, leave a like, anything you would like, and I'll see you guys next time.